And Abraham said unto his young men, Abide ye here with thee, and I, the lad, will go yonder and worship, and come again to me.
So the thing that I think was so that is when Abraham was going up the mountain and there no Uriah and look at the Torah the man that the meaning is that I in case I go to the mountain to worship I think this is not part of the same. I think I can talk about something. Abraham had Zama servants. I want to go in worship and Makado Alusa Pastor Mountain. And I told God I want to go in worship and teach me to come let people who told us other people are going to worship. You are comfortable with staying behind. Are you hearing my way? They literally say we are going to worship. Then the guys are like, you not going to stay here and you agree to stay. Abraham like the guys, even Isaac, they are not going to worship on top of the mountain. In Israel, Magari Damatu. That's the truth. When these other people are going to worship, when these other people are going to pray, Chaco is now Magari Damatu. And Chaco is the Papa Toba, like Yeshua. So obviously. Kudzivapo menda mama vanotipanzi yaungoenda kuonaiti sarai mukiye madhoma kana ndofonera makupenda kusoka kusara uchirindiswa madhongi sezvaitwa Josefa and Abraham is like I'm now going to worship God like vakafamba vese kubva kumba and vachikapa mountain inda kuenda kuworship iwe chisarani kusabvuma kusara wakarinda madhongi and when Abraham says I'm going to worship make sure kuti haurambisani madhongi also go to what worship. This was a question. So when I made a short video, let me know what you need to my notes and that. So number one, worship is a response. And that's the first point. Worship is a what? Is a response. For example, what do I mean by response? And then you say, babe, you are beautiful and you are worshiping him. And but the thing is, you first of all you see the beauty. Then you say you are beautiful as a response to the what? The beauty. And I get what I'm saying. So in other words, when we worship God, that worship is a response. And we first see the goodness of God. We first see the greatness of God. And our response to that goodness and greatness is worship. And I'm getting it. The reason why other people don't worship is because our sight of our own. Alright, you can't say you are beautiful. We can't give that response because there is no beauty. So in other words, there is this beauty for you to worship your friend. You now get the definition of worship. It's a what? It's a response. And we worship because of something. We worship because we see something. We worship because God sees something. Alright, why do we worship God? Number one, because God is love. And John 3:16 all got this verse. God expressed his love for us by sending Jesus Christ is what? His son. And so we worship because he's full of what? Love. Worship is a response to what? To his love. So in other words, God first does something for you to worship. Now the question is, do you see what he has done so that you can worship? If you are blind to the things that God is doing in your life, you are not able to worship because of supposed like for example, other people just think but when you then attend the funeral, you understand that life is a gift. And once you have that understanding, you worship God because of everything that you live. Worship is a response to a certain realization. Am I making sense? Okay, another thing, why do you worship God? You worship God because also is what is holy. And worship is because it's forgiving. It is, but I don't want to talk much about why I worship God, but I want us to understand the concept of worship. Worship is a what? A response. And for example, first of all, I take a motor, then say, you are responding to the beauty of the car. Without the beauty of the car, there is no worship. But when we now approach God, He's the creator of heaven and earth, and that means we have to worship Him for what He has done. How can we fail to worship Him when He has done something? That's why in Ecclesiastes, Solomon then says the whole duty of man is to worship what? God. Why? Because He has done something that makes Him worthy to receive that worship. Worship is a response. Okay. Number two, worship comes from observation or revelation. This is what I was talking about. But you first have to observe something for you to worship. You first have to see something for you to worship. You first have to understand something for you to worship. So, it's one point I can ask. Because I worship a man, I see motion. Why? Because you haven't observed or seen something. You are still blind to what God is doing. The point is, are you seeing what is able to do in your life? When you see that, you react by worship. So the other thing will be like, you are confused with why is it that I ask worship Mary? It's because they are blind to the things that God is doing. Do you make sense? But for example, worship God because of the shoes that you are wearing. Why? Because God in Genesis 1, He created animals, and from animals, we have the skin of the animals, they produce leather, and that leather produces the shoes you are wearing. So for you to worship, to wear those shoes, is because God created the animals. So you have to worship God based on what? The shoes. Worship God based on the t-shirt that I'm wearing. Why? Because t-shirts are made from cotton, and cotton is a plant that God made. So everything that I'm wearing is plants made by God. So because I have now realized that I'm wearing a plant of God, I worship God. So the reason why other people don't worship is because they do not have this realization. When you think of everything that you have, you see that you have to worship God. The phone that you have, you see the glass on the phone. Glass comes from sand, sand which is soil that God made. So why are you not worshiping God? Because you are wanting something that He made. Worship is a response. Worship comes from observation. Worship comes from realization. Worship comes from revelation of something. If your parents are alive, worship God because of that. Because if they were being you wouldn't be here today. Worship God because of what? Because of that. Tunamtenda Viki for coming. Panel no continuing around Viki for Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much. So I will move because of time. So nobody worship is a reaction. Masubata the definition of worship, and it's a what reaction. Worship is an appreciation, and if you read Matthew, Jesus says God knows the number of hair that is on your head. Imagine if it's a room and God knows the exact number. So worship God. When you realize that this God knows me to be poor, you worship. Worship is your reaction to what God does for you. And for you, which gives answer, do you recognize that for chickens to exist, it's God who created them? So, to me, eating is no longer something that I do occasionally, but you are now seeing the greatness of God, even Wakabata Sata, because you understand that the maize comes from God. So, how can I fail to worship the provider? Other people will be like, kana ndichirwara ndikaporeswa mwari andiporesa sei. For medicines and pills to exist, the munhu akafunga, and that brain which thought it's God who created that brain. So in other words, for the pill to be here, rakagadzirwa kuindia rikashipiwa kuya kuafrica, God was overseeing everything, so that iwe nhasi paucharitenga mupharmacy uchapora, and you say God is not healing. Worship is a realization. Am I making sense? So when you think about life, you now see that God is in charge and in control of everything. When you go to take a rice shop, it's a plant that God created, and someone needs to package it, and for it to get to you, Maria Okabata, you are not the first person to hold it, but like I said that I was also a battle that specific day to buy that packet of rice. Worship God. So about explaining because so worship is a acknowledgement, appreciation, and a result outcome or after effect. So when you worship, It's an appreciation, it's an acknowledgement, and I found because of that. So ways of worshiping God, so number one, you can give him praise, you can give him glory, you can give him respect, you can commit, you can devote, etc. So I think you can jam and but the most definitely honest worship comes from realization. Honest worship comes from what? From the God. You don't have to be in church for you to worship. Also, sometimes you can but Marakanaka, that worship is true and genuine as compared to someone giving a false testimony about it. Sometimes without even saying it to your mouth, you go funga